Hello. Okay. Hi. Hello, Emma. I'm good. How are you? Yeah, everything just like really good here. So we're not in quarantine anymore. And how is everything in Taiwan? I know you want. Hi guys. So we will just like waiting for Alicia just for a moment. Alicia สวัสดีจ้ามาตูม Okay.
Hi,
Hello.
B.
Hi.
Hi, I
Ciao.
miss you. Hi.
I miss you so much. Hi.
Aw.
How are you?
Good. How are you? How is it over
Do you
there
you
for you?
you hear me well, right?
Yes. Do you hear me well?
Yes. Like it's kind of like like echo to you,
You
like
hear
my
an echo for
sounds.
me?
No. Maybe like
Oh,
probably like
no,
my
no echo
voice.
for you.
No. Okay. Good.
Perfect. So,
So Alicia, so thank you so much for talking with me here today. Like I'm really appreciate you so badly, and I'm like missing you so much.
I miss you too.
Yeah,
It's so
and
crazy. Who
then
would have thought that we would
yeah,
be in
I
this
know.
situation? Like
Yeah,
2020 was supposed to be our best lives. I mean, we are still being positive. We are still living our best lives. But who would have known that we would have been in this situation
yeah, I
politically and
know,
then
right?
also with this pandemic?
Hmm. So yeah, let's just start about like our conversation that we're talking about. So today, like I want to ask you about the fashion industry because like you are working in like the big company, right?
Yeah.
So you have like an experience about like global situation and global trend. You like fly over between like Asia and Europe. Is that like really eye open to you? How is that like make you like how did you work like for you?
Well, yeah, as you said before, so for those who don't know me, I do work for Timberland based in Switzerland. And we design globally. So we design for Asia, North America, and then also
Yeah,
for Europe. So that's a lot in terms of, having to know the consumers in all these different areas. Obviously me being from the US, I know a lot about the North American consumer. Um, but this is why we travel to these places. This is why we do trend reports. This is why it's nice to have people like you in my network from Asia so that we can
yeah,
really have a
cool.
true insight on what's going on in every region and what, different regions want in terms of the consumer and marketing to that specific consumer.
Yeah.
I think we should
So
backtrack a bit of how we met. Like, I think it would
yeah,
be nice.
like we just like I'm just trying to warm it up before like we getting a lot more
Oh,
viewer.
sorry.
So yeah, it's fine. It's just like my purpose to create this live is not about like show how we share experience like between us, but I want to like share. Like how I met like wonderful people like you in my life because like so, like back like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I'm just like I was in Thailand like only, and then I flew to Italy to the Muse Academy, and then I met you.
Don't miss.
Yeah, and honestly, I was so scared of you because like I'm not really like speak English, you know. And then you was like talking to me like so fast, and then it was like,
I'm sorry.
all right, because like I didn't know you well, and then like after that, the Muse Academy is just like open my experience about the fashion industry, and also like meet a lot of people, friends from several countries, and I really appreciate about that. And yeah, back to in that point, like how do you feel about that? Like when you first came to Italy?
So just to give people a bit of my journey, I know we talked about, you know, we wanted to talk about how I moved overseas as an American. So, you know, dated back to 2014. Well, let's just start from my education, actually. So
Sure.
I went to Philadelphia University in Philadelphia, obviously. And I graduated in 2013 with a bachelor's in fashion design. From there, after I graduated, I was like most graduates, not really knowing what to do next. I'm going to talk slow, too, because my friends are making fun of me for speaking fast right now.
Yeah.
But
remember
so
like
I
because
graduated
like
in 2013, and then in 2014, you know, I didn't have a permanent job. To be honest, during 2013, before I graduated, my grandfather fell victim to murder, and because of that, I cope with things very differently. I cope with things by being creative, or you know, just working hard and finding positive solution in things. So when my grandfather was murdered, I used that, you know, that rest of that summer of 2013 to create my own brand. And from that, you know, I was just really inspired going to different fashion shows in Philly, in New York, and just really gaining my network as a fresh, you know, graduate, not knowing what the heck is going on in the world. I mean, I had internships, you know, when I was in college at Calvin Klein in New York, and, you know, things like that. But I hadn't had a full-time job after graduating. So I was really focused on, you know, just really going after my brand and meeting different people.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience. Really, really great. From there, 2014, I was working also at PVH in New York. And that brand, specifically, I was working with Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein. And because of the climate of the organization, it was a temporary to permanent position. So my managers were the best. They knew that the head count wasn't that high to bring me on, but they really wanted me. So at that point, they were just sending me around the office, like introducing me to directors in different categories. Like, hey, this is Alicia. Do you have head count? Hey. But I feel like in life, we get a no, and sometimes that no is for our benefit. And I didn't know at the time that there not being head count for me at PVH at that time was going to be a blessing in disguise. Fast forward to September or the end of August of that year, I went to London and Paris, my first time going abroad. And in that time, you know, I was already thinking, I want to move overseas. I don't want to be here anymore. I was just I didn't know how to get over there. And the other job that I was working at the time, Business Development Center for women entrepreneurs, one of my managers there, she kind of encouraged me to, you know, look at schools, look at jobs, however I can find a way to get overseas. So during my vacation to Paris and London, I set up an interview or like an open house with one of the schools in London, because that was my dream. I'm like, I'm a menswear designer. I'm going to work in the menswear capital of the world. You know, I'm American, so that's what we think of London, you know. So I was like, this is the dream. So I actually went on that vacation with one of my best friends, Ismay. And I kind of branched off from her, and then I went to my open house and like met with them, etc. But when I got back to the U.S., you know, I saw an application or a scholarship competition for Domus Academy in Italy. Shout out to Domus.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so the deadline for this scholarship comes before the deadline for me applying for London College of Fashion. So I applied to that first at Domus Academy. And before I can even apply to the school in London, it was crazy. Like, I found out that I won, and not only did I won first place. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, a girl from West Philly, like, you know, competing with people who are global, people from Asia, people from Europe. And this is like, you know, my only first time being abroad was going on that trip to Paris and London. So I hadn't had like a wide spectrum of the
Yeah.
world at that age. I think I was 23, I want to say. Yeah, I was 23. So I was just overjoyed the fact that I won first place. I remember like crying to my boss, like I didn't think I was good enough.
So like you have your own.
My chapter of. So that was October. I found out that I won that scholarship, and at that point, I had 3 months to move out of the U.S. And I was like, yes. And it was so funny because I didn't believe it. You know, I was speaking to like the coordinator at the school, and I was like, you mean to tell me I can move in 3 months? Like I don't have to wait to the next year? Because most of the grad schools were like, you know, you need to wait to the following semester to start. So I was going through stuff personally, and then like career-wise, I felt stagnant in New York and Philly. And I was like, I'm moving in 3 months. Like, and that's what happened. And then January 2015, I moved. I met you, my favorite person. And that was just an amazing experience for me because I was the only American in that program. There was about 10 or 11 of us. And everybody represented so many different backgrounds from different parts of Asia to Russia. Right. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to Pri, to Canada, Azar. Like, it was so many different nationalities. And in that, you know, you understand in that 1 year how close we became. Because for all of us, we were all in a position where we dropped our lives and moved over to another country with no family, no friends. And we were all each other had, you know, from cooking with each other, you know, to just really building a nice, diverse culture community, which to this day, 6 years later, means so much to me. And the fact that, you know, you're still one of my greatest friends. And, you know, I traveled with you to see your hometown in Thailand. Yeah. Like,
you came to Thailand.
In this industry, people think that, you know, to be a fashion designer, you need to be like, you know, Devil Wears Prada, be like this jerk to people. And like, but there's so much coziness and, you know, human to human connections that you get in the design process. And I think that's something really important to highlight within the industry itself. You don't have to come out of your character and be like this spiteful, statistical person to get a hit. You know, it's strength in numbers. And, you know, I really truly believe in collaboration and keeping connections and networking. And I think that's how you
supporting
can
each
grow
other.
And move forward.
I think it's really important to be like supporting each other because like nowadays people really like getting a lot of harder and harder about like trying to find a job in Thailand or like wherever they want to be. So the best part of like being in Milan is about the connection, you know, like 9 countries. Do you remember that? So we met a lot of friends and then we make like, super international. And then we still keep in touch till now today. I think it's the best part of like being to like flew to abroad and then get some education. And I would love to talk to you about your previous job because like after you graduated from the Muse Academy, you went back to USA for work.
Yes.
And how was it?
Okay, so that was a bit. So it's been a crazy like back and forth journey in the past 5 years. Yeah. So because, you know, as you mentioned,
I think like after we graduated, we were so frustrated and we really depressed because like we were really sad to like say goodbye to each other. And then I know that we all want to stay in Milan, continue to working over there and live there, but it's just a hard time because like we all have to gain us experience, you know. And can you please tell me more about like how you gained the experience back in USA and then you came back really like powerful, such an impact story.
Woo! Where do I start? So, all right. So I moved to Italy in 2015. That program was only supposed to be a year. So we graduated in 2015. And like you said, so my class, we all wanted to stay in Milan. Like the reality of the situation was the fact that in 2015, the fashion industry, the job community was just non-existent. No matter how talented you were, no matter how hard you worked, you know, it was just a non-existent, you know, job opportunity after we graduated. But we found a way to hustle and like stay longer. after I graduated December 2015, I joined a project with Stone Island and B&W Group. And I stayed on, and that's how I was able to stay in Italy a bit longer. I was working on a project with them where I made outerwear, which was a very interesting collaboration because we were catering to that automobile world and then also merging it with design, which was a great experience with Stone Island. They welcomed me hands in. And then, you know, that wasn't a permanent job. Obviously, it was like a freelance position. And, you know, as I was speaking with the owner of, the founder of Stone Island, he gave me advice. He's like, you know, Alicia, you're very talented. Unfortunately, due to the market here in Italy, there's nothing really substantial that we can offer you. At that time, I applied for a job in the U.S. at Reebok. And when I applied for that, I kind of was like, I don't know if I want to go back to America right now, because at that time, for my fellow Americans in the chat, at that time, America, it was just going crazy, like in terms of police brutality. It was also an election year for Trump. It was just a lot going on. And I was really sad. I had so many emotions. I was really happy about, oh my God, I got a job at Reebok. What? But then at the same time, I was so sad at the thought of moving back to the U.S. and the climate that it was in. But, you know, I put my big girl pants on. I was like, my sadness right now sounds like privilege. How am I crying about going to an amazing opportunity? So I moved to the U.S. in August, and I started my job in a new city. I moved to Boston. Never been to Boston. It was my first time there. And I moved to Boston like 3 days after moving from Italy. And I started my job at, I was specifically in SLD. So SLD is Sports Licensing Division.
Yeah.
So I was working on sport product, which was amazing because I love sports. I love basketball. I grew up as a cheerleader. It's just something that was just innate in me. I love being surrounded. And I love, you know, I just love that kind of vibe of a company. So I enjoyed myself. And I was also welcomed with, you know, my manager was amazing. My manager and the team that I was working with just had my back. So working there was great because, you know, we had all the perks of going to different, you know, basketball games, baseball games, sitting in the box office. And then actually I learned how to play hockey, which was so funny because I love ice skating. I love skating, like rollerblading. Yeah. But because I was designing for NHL, which is like the National Hockey League in America, because I was designing for that professional team, we as designers needed to relate to them. So we needed to learn how to play hockey. We needed to like understand the movement so we can understand what cuts we needed to put in, etc. So that was a fun time. Like shout out to Michael, my manager, and Eric. They were amazing. Like I had a blast with them. It was such a great time. But you know, that year 2016, you know, we found out that, you know, a lot of companies, a lot of global companies and corporate, they're just, it's business, you know. If someone buys out another company, then, you know, they're going to decide to take those designers or not. So at that time, I was working for Adidas, but at the Reebok headquarters in Boston. Adidas headquarters is in Portland. So because of that, we had a new president, and that president came in and was like, okay, we're going to separate this. Reebok is moving to Seaport, and Seaport is a district in Boston, which is like downtown, to really cater to the creative community. And they were like, the SLD, the Sports Licensing Division, you guys got to move over to Portland. But it wasn't as black and white as that. It wasn't like, oh, you guys all have a job and you guys are all moving. But I think they realized like later down the line that some people in my team, like my manager, had a great connection with the NHL. Like that's a professional league, and he had a great connection with them. So you can't just fire these people and bring in new people and expect to have that same cozy relationship. As I mentioned before, the industry is also about relationships that you have with people. So if a professional league like NHL is having already a good time and a good relationship working with my design manager, you can't just up and be like, oh, we're replacing you. So at that time, you know, it felt like everybody was losing their jobs. So in that moment, my managers really rallied behind me when I found out. So with Timberland, I was in connection with a guy who worked at Timberland when I was living in Italy. I did a project for Timberland 5 years ago. Yeah, you remember that project, right?
So long.
Yeah, that was like 5 years ago.
What's fun?
Which is so crazy because I did that project for Timberland. You know, we had to make the video and do all this stuff, which was so fun. So I stayed in contact with him throughout my journey. Like when I was working for Stone Island, he would send me like articles. Like he just became like a mentor kind of. He would send me articles and about design and just will be like, Alicia, you should do this. Then like it's so weird how timing works, because when we found out that we were all basically losing our jobs, he reached out to me and was like, Alicia, if you want to move back overseas, we're going to be posting jobs soon. But he introduced the conversation like, it's been a year and a half in my position. I've been promoted a lot. If you want to move back overseas, you should look at these positions that we're going to post this week. I was like, all right. So I told like my managers, and they were like, because at that time we were all trying to find like a job at that point, because we didn't know how permanent moving to Adidas would be. So my managers had my back with applying for another job, which is not a thing that happens in companies, you know. So like I did like a like a project for them, and I presented it to them, and I just remember in the conversation I was nervous. I was like, so what's next? Do I get to speak to HR? Like, when can I hear back if you guys like me? And I didn't know that they had already had in their mind that they wanted to hire me already, regardless.
Because they're not going to tell you.
Because apparently they had my project that I did 5 years ago. They still had it. They were like, well, our boss loves you. He showed us your project and you're phenomenal. So, and that's just how they left it. And I was like, oh, snap. I was just so blown away. So, my time in Boston was like less than a year, because literally I applied for the job for Timberland around like March 20 something. Found out I got the job March 27th. I'm so weird with numbers. I remember like details. And then also March 27th is my mom's birthday. But I found out that I got the job, and then from there I moved to Switzerland in July. And I've been here for 3 years now, which is crazy how time has been flying. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
but it was a lot of back and
forth.
Within 5 years, I've moved to Italy. I moved to Italy, moved back to the U.S., moved to Boston, moved back to Philly, and then moved to Switzerland. And now it's like, okay, I've been here for 3 years. This is my first time I travel a lot, but it's my first time having my home and like being like, okay, I'm here. I'm home.
You feel like it's home, yeah.
Yeah,
it's great, cool. Wow, it's such an interesting story about like how you move back and forth by like working about that. So I'm wondering, like, how did you manage everything, like back to US and to Timberland? Like, how do you manage like prepare your portfolio, and then you came just over to get interviewed at Timberland, or you just like came over to
Timberland, you mean?
Yeah.
Before I interviewed? So, when you're finishing school or wherever point you are in your life, whether you're applying for a new job, it's important to make sure that, you're updating your portfolio continuously. And in terms of a bit of advice for anybody who is updating their portfolio, process is key. A lot of companies like to see the process of how you got to your final work.
Process,
then they'll know how, they'll know how you're thinking, and they're like, okay, I like the way he or she thinks. We need this type of thinking, on our team. So a lot of people think you just need to show only, I made this shirt and that's it. That's in my portfolio. That's not enough, the process. So I encourage anybody who is in the field right now, who's working or doing whatever, make sure you take photos, take videos of your stuff, and really capture it and put that in your portfolio. Even if it's not the prettiest sketches, they like to see that work, to know, this is what's going on in her mind to get to that final, that final point. Wow. So that was important for me, just making sure that I had a lot of my process photos, and then putting it all together and then submitting that and showing my work of what I've done.
Yeah, because like from my background, like what I'm doing about the fashion in Thailand. So before, it's all about the story and experiment about like how you're gonna tell the story. It's not, we are really not focused on the process. So I learned all the process like when I met you and you guys at the Moose Academy, and it's really important that you have to show all the process that you've been done until the result at the end, and then like you can show all the people like how you think, how it developed, gonna be like okay. So like from my point of view, I'm working just only local trend in Thailand, because like, I'm just in the in Thai company. So basically, the trend is all about Thai people. Like we are thinking about like people gonna wear in this season or next month or next year. But back to you, how do you like research and approach your customer by global
So,
like big consumer? How do you
well,
like research them? Yeah,
so as I mentioned before, Timberland, we design globally, and this is why we're based here.
yeah,
You know, obviously Timberland is an American brand, but, you know, footwear is based in the US and apparel is based here in Switzerland because when you look at all the regions, so you have Asia, EMEA, which is like Europe, and then you have
mm-hmm.
North America. So when you look at those three regions, footwear is very heavy prevalent in North America because of our heritage in Timberland. And then, you know, the apparel is very, you know, in terms of revenue, the apparel is very big in Europe, and this is why we're based here in Europe. So, but yeah, even though we're big here, we still have our other regions to cater to, which is North America and Asia. So our team is super diverse. So I'm the only American on the team, but our team consists of someone from Sweden, people from the UK, Italian, Greek, French. There's so many nationalities on our team, and I think that dynamic really brings a lot of perspective in terms of designing globally. You know, we're not just designing for a local market for like, you know, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm not designing for the people that are in my Philadelphia local neighborhood. You know what I mean? I need to understand consumers because, you know, culture plays a big thing in this as well. People, you know, it's a regional conversation, but it's also a cultural conversation and getting to know what's in the consumer's minds and how they resonate with the brand. For example, North America, you know, they know the brand because of the yellow boot. It's a charger.
Yeah, this boot.
But yeah, so North America knows the brand because of the yellow boot, and then also its strong roots in the hip hop industry. You know, hip hop and Timberland is like, you know, yin and yang, they go together. So that's what North America really values and appreciates about, you know, the brand perception of Timberland. The reality about some of our products is, you know, Middle America is, excuse me, Middle America is the bulk of our product in terms of, you know, who's buying Timberland in America, you know, which is very, you know, it's the case for most brands. Like if you look at Nike, if you look at Adidas or like all these type of brands, Middle America is the, you know, the driving force for a lot of these brands, but we thrive off of collaborations and things that can really bring a lot of heat and relevance to the brand, which is what I was working on when I first joined Timberland for the first couple of years here. I was designing collaborations, and I worked with, you know, Christopher Rayburn, who's a London-based designer, worked with a lot of different collabs. I can't think of them right now. SpongeBob. Yeah. SpongeBob was one, which I remember my team didn't understand. My team didn't understand why would we do a collab, you know, with SpongeBob. And I remember them coming to me like, Alicia, and I'm like, guys, like, and I think that's why it's important to have so many different nationalities on a global team, because you need to know, you know, the viewpoints of different regions. And I was like, guys, the hype culture in terms, so when I say hype culture, I'm talking about those sneakerheads, the people who are buying Supreme, you know, the people who appreciate nostalgia stuff. You know, a bulk of those people are millennials. I'm a millennial, you know, I'll be 30 in, I'll be 30 in 6 months. But yeah, so a lot of those people really resonate with SpongeBob. I grew up on SpongeBob. There's so many memes on SpongeBob. SpongeBob is important to the culture, like in terms of the memes of the world of social media. So, you know, I was explaining to them, like, guys, this is going to be something that people are going to be interested in. And lo and behold, like that collection sold out, which was great. So yeah, I think that's a testament to understanding the mindset and also what triggers, because I think a lot of consumers buy things because of nostalgia. So anything that is like, oh my God, this is warm and cozy. I remember when I was a kid and I had this. You know, if you can play on and understand, the psychology and also, you know, the nostalgia that resonates with different consumers, then, you know, that's how you can really get into their hearts. So designing for Asia and being an American, you know, I had to travel there. So, you know, my
Yeah.
job is fortunate enough that they allow us to travel for inspiration. You know, before coronavirus hit, I traveled to China and Japan just for an inspiration trip. And when we go on those inspiration trips, we go into different shops. We see what consumers are wearing. We see, you know, we see all these things. We see what's going on in the streets, and just understanding the culture that's different from your own so that you can come back and take it and design for them. My friend is saying it's important to have representation of culture in the rooms for reasons like this, which for me, specifically as a Black designer, you know, in our industry, there aren't a lot of Black people, you know, in the position that I'm in right now. And, you know, as you
they're
see,
talented.
like, yeah, as you see in social media, you see like a lot of brands who gone wrong and did things that were very controversial to like the Black community and things like that. And that's why I think, you know, I really appreciate my role that I have within Timberland, because I not only do I represent the only American, I'm the only Black person on my team, you know. So for me, I feel like I have like a responsibility to my culture, to my Black people, you know what I mean? To Americans, you know, to really represent and sit in those realms. And, you know, if somebody comes in and wants to do an idea that could be controversial, I can be like, and they may not understand, you know, some people may not understand that what you're doing is going to be offensive to someone else because it's just ignorance. But you can educate those people by being that person of color who's representing, you know, for the culture, because there's not many of us in that realm, and be like, oh no, that's not going to fly with my community. Like, you shouldn't put that out. And then, you know, and that's what a lot of companies lack. They lack that representation from different, and I'm pretty sure you can relate to that as well. Like, you know, as being an, you know, a person from Thailand, like if there's anything offensive to your community, you know, people, like for me, like, I mean, obviously we're friends, so I know you, you know, I understand your culture. But if I didn't know you and I didn't understand your culture, and I was designing for the Asian community and I did something offensive that I didn't know, that's bad, because there's no representation. So for me, I'm an advocate for, you know, I come from a place where people believe that you have to have your own brand to be popping, to be popular, to be cool. You know, I had my own brand, but then I decided to, you know, get into these corporate spaces that there aren't too many people who look like me. And for me, that's important. Like, representation matters. And, you know, of course, I'm young. You know, as I mentioned before, I'll be 30. So I have time to like get back to my brand whenever I want to. But for me, working in these global brands like Stone Island and Reebok and, you know, Timberland and, you know, Calvin Klein, you know, putting my Black face in these spaces, you know, is important, because, you know, I get to network with people outside of my community and then let them know, shed some light on, you know, what we enjoy, what we appreciate, what resonates with us. And, you know, I think that's something valuable to really unite the world instead of having so much tension that we have currently right now. Like, you know, America is just going bananas. And for your Thai, you know, your Thai followers, I'm pretty sure that they're watching what's going on in America right now, you know, virtually and through social media. And I appreciate you told me before our call that, you know, a lot of people in your Thai community see what the injustices that are going on in America, and they stand with us. And I really appreciate that, because, you know, as an American who's not in America right now, I'm like looking, like reading everything and like really being involved. And I'm just like, woo, child, it's too much. And it makes me think, like, what are other countries thinking about us? We're supposed to be so evolved, you know, but yet we're not. There's so many areas we're not involved in. Yes, definitely pray for America. And to be honest, I think, you know, if your Thai community is interested in moving to America, you know, moving to Europe for design or for their jobs, I think that they shouldn't be afraid to do it. You know, don't let anything that's going on politically or anything that's going on socially limit what you want to do in your heart. Yes, it's a lot, but I think I really want to stress the importance of educating yourself and connecting with people who are from those different cultures. So that when you get into those spaces, you know, I know it's a big dream for a lot of people to move to America, you know, so when you get in those spaces, you're aware of, you know, what's going on in the place that you're coexisting with other people, and you can really thrive personally and then also professionally if you're working for a company. Sorry, that was a
Great,
lot.
such a great speech. No, no, no. As I mentioned before, like our life, like like our Thai community, we stand for you guys, like because like we saw everything, and then like a lot of Thai people we tweet on Twitter and Facebook and on the social media, and we it's not even fair for the guy and like for you guys also,
Yeah.
and we're looking for like another revolution or like something could be changed for the for the community. And how do you think is that gonna affect you guys about the fashion designer over there, like about the fashion situation about in this in this situation is really hard enough about
In
the
this climate,
coronavirus and everything and politically and everything. Yeah. And what do you think about the fashion designer like
I
over
think
there
it's
in
so I
America
think
right
it's so
now?
interesting that you mentioned that because obviously we've been thinking because of coronavirus, we've already been resetting in our heads like, okay, what do consumers want? After we get out of this situation, people are really going to be attached to brands who have a purpose and a message, and also they're going to be buying things that have value. So you can't come in and
Right.
saturate an industry like ours with stuff that has no value to people who are just home for 3 months. These people have been home for 3 months. They want it when they do go out and start purchasing stuff again. They want to purchase stuff that's going to inspire them to go take a hike, which I work for Timberland, so we can give you the gear to go take a hike and go be on go on point with nature. But a lot of consumers are going to think about, what does this brand stand for? What value do they have to offer me so that I can wear it and be proud that I'm wearing this brand, and then also that they're supporting me to go outside or do whatever, be in different spaces, and just really having a purpose. Again, I feel like people think about fashion and the idea of fashion sounds so superficial, because when you look at it on the surface level, it's just like, how can we get dressed to make ourselves feel good? But at the end of the day, fashion has so many layers. Fashion has layers of psychology, going back to the point of making yourself feel good. So for me, I feel good that I'm designing for people, to make themselves feel good, which touches on the topic of mental health. People want to feel good, getting dressed. I've been in t-shirts and sweats this whole entire time that I've been home. But, today I'm not wearing a bright shirt, but normally I will wear like a bright t-shirt because there's psychology in color. Like if you wear like a bright purple shirt, purple is like a soothing kind of color. If you wear orange, it's going to like, inspire you to be creative and have fun. I truly believe in like how color is therapeutic, and there's very psychology, psychology connected to color.
Yeah.
So consumers are going to be very mindful for that. So in terms of your question about designers in America, I think that they need to be really aware about the mindset of people, about the sensitivity of people. We're all just watching the world fall apart, and I don't mean to be so negative. I'm a positive person, but we're watching the world take steps to fall apart from this global pandemic. People not listening to the global pandemic. People at home who may be at home alone, going through mental health problems. And then on top of all these things, you have our Black and brown people getting killed by people who are supposed to protect us. So at the end of the day, designers who are in this superficial realm of an industry, we need to really connect with the consumer psychologically, and then also mentally. I think that's really important. Like, stand up, like just stand up for important things. And I see a lot of brands doing that. Even with the coronavirus thing, I saw Nike was really quick with putting out an ad called, you want to play for the world, here's your chance, stay at home. Like, brands who are understanding the relevance of diving into the hearts and the minds of the consumer, the people who put money in your pocket, the reason why I have a job, like, you know what I mean? We're designing for real life people. And in order to do that, we can't have everything be so glitzy and glamoury, because that's not the reality of our industry. We're designing for everyday people like me and you. So, I think designers really need to be cautiously aware of that. And of course, you're still going to have like your consumers who don't care about value and just want to buy stuff because it's cool, which is it's an important factor in our industry as well. But just think about the dynamic of tying in cool with value and, just mental enjoyment for the consumer, for the product. I think that's how a lot of brands can be really successful.
Yeah, great. Uh, you know, when it's come to design, like we always think about like, okay, I'm a designer, so my ego's going to be like, yeah, like everybody's supposed to listen to me because I'm a designer, and I don't care about the consumer because like I'm doing something great and beautiful, and it's supposed to be on sale. So do they allow you to use your creativity on your on the design for the company, or how do you adapt your creativity to the design that you give to the company?
So when you're working for a company, so as a creative person, I'm just going to set this up really quickly. So you have like a creative person, then you have a company, and then you have the consumer. So me as a creative person, I'm coming into a company. So that company has its that, or I'm coming into a company. So me, I'm the creative person. This is the company, and this is me coming into it. So this company already has its core values. It already has things that, you know, that makes up its brand identity, you know, things that, you know,
Yeah,
people relate to. So
like
me as a
heritage.
creative
Oh,
person, I need to join forces with this brand and realize it's not my brand, it's their brand. But what can I do to give
good.
my twist? So they're still interested in my creativity. That's why they hired me. So now I need to really research and really understand my brand's identity and understand how it resonates with each consumer, as I mentioned to you before, from different regions. So
Mm.
it's a matter of taking your creative energy and really, you know, it's like a brief. You know, you know, you're
Mm-hmm.
familiar with the term brief. What we used to get in school, we would get a brief and then understand what we need to do. So you have your consumer, you have your price point, you have, you know, you have these things, and you need to design into that. And for me, that's the ultimate sign of creativity, because if you have something, I don't want to say it's a limit, but if you have like a box of what you need to design into, that opens up so many doors for creativity. So yeah, so for me, I balance, you know, bringing my own taste, my own vibe into, you know, designing for Timberland. I'm in a position where I manage a big part of the collection for my pillar. So I designed for the heritage pillar, and, you know, I designed with two other designers. So I represent 1/3 of the collection where, you know, I do fleece outerwear, you know, sweats, sweaters, polos, tees, and things of that nature. So for me, I have my own, you know, creative input, my aesthetic, what I like, my taste specifically on the categories that I'm designing in. But because I'm working with two other designers, we design head to toe.
Yeah.
So head to toe is, you know, obviously accessories, jacket, shirt, pants, and footwear, because I work for a footwear company. So because of that, I'm designing everything that's at the head, you know, fleece
Mm.
wear, outerwear, you know, shirts and things like that. But my counterparts who are designing like pants and outerwear, we need to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that our outfits coincide together, you know, simultaneously, and then
Yeah.
also with the brand aesthetic. So there's so many things that I need to work with. I need to work with my creativity of my own self, my own taste, within my category, then, you know, within the other categories who are my teammates, and then making sure that it's enough for the brand. We're showing up how we need to show up for the brand, and then also regionally. So there's so many levels, because you need to keep that brand perception, but then you need to cater to Asia, you need to cater to Europe, you need to cater to North America. And you know, you just use, you know, it's been 3 years now that I've been working in this way, and you become, you know, used to it. You automatically know, oh, we know Asia don't like this type of fabric. We know America really loves this
Yeah.
placement, like of a graphic. So you just, you know, as you've been working, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And how like in your opinion, how is the difference between like Asian market and European market and American market? It's so market here.
So I can definitely speak for the market in terms of, okay, I'll speak for market in terms of Timberland, and then I'll speak in terms of the
Yeah,
market.
yeah, yeah.
So specifically for Timberland, so Asia is really into like cool stuff. Like they take risks. They think outside the box. If I design like a white Coach jacket with like a big print on the back, they'll be so into that. They'll be into like, you know, bright orange colors, like collabs, cool stuff. Asia's really interested in like cool, even when it comes in terms of fit. Asia likes a lot of boxy fit. Specifically with Timberland, they appreciate, you know, the workwear vibes that we give with Timberland. Europe, on the other hand. And I love designing for Asia because they're so fun. I love it. I love designing for Asia.
I mean, like you can see like bright color.
Yeah, and it's so crazy.
Yeah, you can
when
see
I went
like
to Asia,
really.
the beginning of this year, it was my first time seeing my product in store because you know that was my first time in Asia. So, well, no, my first time in Asia was when I came to visit you last year. And remember when how hyped I was when I saw my stuff in the store? But yeah, so when I went to Asia this year on a work trip, I was able to see my collection and just see how good it was doing in the store. But when you look at Europe, Europe is a bit more conservative. Where like button up tees, they like their polos with their popped collar.
Yeah.
So you can do like a cool, interesting like tipped collar at the back so they can pop their collar. So Europe is like very clean like that. But because we're Timberland, we still need to make sure we respect our aesthetic. So then with North America, I feel like North America, there's so many dynamics within North America. Because when you think of North America for Timberland, you know, the urban North America, like the East Coast and like people who are connected with the hip hop roots, they really appreciate, you know, that kind of aesthetic, anything that's a nod to that, you know? So they'll appreciate, you know, like if you have a graphic capsule collection that's, you know, something that's a nod to like, I don't know, something else in the culture, like NBA graphics or something like that. So they're into like things that are cool and that resonate with the culture outside of fashion, but then also with music, and then also, you know, anything in that realm. So they're really interested. So I like designing in that world as well. That's where a lot of my collaborations went. A lot of my collaborations were in the US and then also in Asia. But then you have another part of America, which is like middle America, which I don't know if in Asia you guys are familiar with outlet. Do you guys do like outlet stores?
Yeah, we have outlet store.
So you have your main store and then you have like an outlet store.
Yeah, outlet store.
Middle America is all about outlet. So to me, that's not my favorite thing to design. I mean, you have like your collection, then you have like your outlet collection. So, you know, when I design for the outlet collection, I still put a lot of thought into it in terms of sustainability, good fabric, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not always the coolest fashionable stuff because middle America likes daily stuff like a button-up shirt, a Timberland polo with an embroidery on the left chest, their khaki pants, you know, their cardigan sweater, their cable knit sweater. Like, so each region is very different, super different.
Wow, I'm so jealous. Because it's great to talk about the culture and like this kind of stuff, because like as a designer you need to see like a lot of culture and then you bring into your own style, and then you're working for like some people or maybe your own brand. It's very important to bring like a lot of diversity and into just only one style and then send to the market. And as you're working in the big company, so I think can I talk about a bit like how you communicate with like your team and how you because like, you know, we were working at the school and we don't like working as a group because like it's so different personality and like, you know, designer cannot work as a group in school. But when it comes to work, you have to work as a team because you cannot design alone. You know, I have a problem with that too, because like if I don't like this design from this designer, I probably would say something bad to him. But not now. Don't get me wrong, but just like, you know, when you're growing up like a lot more experience, you learn and you don't want to do something like that anymore. But yeah, of course they have some contrast between designer for sure. But how you communicate like all of this kind like work like that?
So I think people who are, I don't know if your audience are still in school or not, or if they're looking for jobs or whatever. But in school, you're right. You know, when you're in school, you're building your own personal aesthetic as a designer. So it's understandable that you don't want to work with other people because, you know, you want to build your portfolio, you want to do what you can do, and you want to get out there and show your best work to these big companies. So I get it. I understand that you don't want to work with people, but I think it is important that when you are approached, if you're in school and you're approached to work in a team, you need to go with it like full throttle with a good spirit, because in reality, that's what you're going to be doing if you want to work in corporate. Even if you don't want to work in corporate, if you're being an entrepreneur, you still need a team of people. You can't do everything by yourself. So I think a lot of people need to let go of that ego, and that ego of, oh, I do everything by myself. I don't need anybody else. I can't work on teams. I'm this, that, and the third. You need to let that go, because you're not going to get anywhere if you continue to think in that way. Of course, the reality is when you work in the industry, you are going to still have some people who, you know, they're working on a team, but they still believe in I. You know, they're egotistical. You're still going to run into that, you know. It's just a matter of how you deal with that, and, you know, how you demand respect from that person. Like, you're going to respect me, and this is what I said. And yeah. And no, really, because, you know, I've experienced that in my very beginning time at Timberland, and thank God it was just only a beginning, because I came in and I told him what it was, and he's like, oh, yeah, respect me. Because, again, you know, I came in, when I joined Timberland, I was the youngest designer. I was 26 at the time when I joined Timberland. And, you know, people who do have those kind of egos, they automatically assume that, oh, she's young, she don't know what she's doing. But, you know, after I showed him, and it's not that I was proving myself, but I was just naturally working and showed that I knew my stuff, you know. And then, you know, also in communication with him, not confrontation. In communication with him, you know, I'm like, this is what it is, and you're going to respect me. But yeah, on a team, you can still like share your opinion if you don't like something. You just need to worry about how you tastefully do it. You know, like my team, I love my team. So one of the guys left, but, you know, before coronavirus, it was 3 of us, 2 guys and then me. They're both older than me, super fun, Dutch guy, and then a British guy. They respect me so much, you know, my input that I have. I kind of, I act like I'm the mom sometimes of
you
of
always.
the team, because I'm always like, guys, like, we need to meet together to make sure that this collection, that our categories are like relating. Like, guys, hello, did you get this shirt? Like, sometimes I can be a bit of a mom, but it's because, you know,
you are.
I'm really passionate about what I do, and you know, I like. Fortunately, I'm in a good team, you know, and they respect that, and whenever we have a good relationship with each other, that whenever we're not agreeing with something, we're like, are you sure about that? Or, you know, I think, again, this touches back on the conversation of building great relationships with people, that you can be in that space where you can tell them your true opinion about something. And you may be also facing situations where you don't have a relationship with someone and you still need to give your opinion. Right. It's just about how you respectfully and tastefully do it.
Great. Yeah, I think it's really important to, like, maybe for Asian people, because, like, you know, American is like, you know, speak up for something that you want to, on point about something that you really want. But for Asian people, like, we really timid, you know, we shy, you know that, because, like, in the classroom, all the Asian students, like, always, like, keep everything quiet, and we don't show our, like, opinion. So when we have opinion or, like, something that we want to comment to, so we keep it secret, and then we, like, talk later or something like that. I think it's really interesting that you talk about that, because, like, sometimes when you talk after the meeting or something like that, it's ruined relationship. Like, people gonna say, like, okay, you talk behind me or something like that.
Yeah, I think that relationship won't be ruined if people understand that, you know, we're adults and we're here to work a job, you know, and once you're here to work a job, you put your feelings to the side. And, you know, I think you won't have to worry about relationships if you do things respectfully, and then also keep in mind that this is a job, you know, and to put your feelings, leave your feelings at home. Should we open up for questions? I see one of your, someone's mentioning about
sure.
In Asian, we are into the one-man show.
So this is my, like, my friend from my former university. Like, she really into, like, you know, things, stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, like if you guys have any question to ask Alicia about like how she moved to Switzerland or anything, you just like leave the comment here and then she will read it and then she reply later.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's an interesting topic, and it's such an interesting timing that we're in the world right now. Like, not only was coronavirus a thing, but now we have this other, you know, what's going on socially in the world. It's just such an interesting time, and I really, really appreciate you inviting me to do this because, you know, I live here alone, and I don't have family and friends here. So I've literally been in this quarantine. Well, we're not in quarantine anymore because it's a bit better here. But I've been here and alone this whole entire time. But I'm really grateful for the platforms like Live, and just Instagram and period, because I feel like, you know, I have such a community on my Instagram that I'm constantly in conversation with people. And it's nice to have that virtual connection with people. And I think Live is also allowing people who don't know each other to meet each other. Like, I think it's super fun. Yeah, very interesting. Oh, Pri has a question.
Yeah, Pri.
Hey, Pri. Oh,
okay, we got 7 questions.
When you both move back for your countries, you want to go first, Pete? I think I kind of already answered it.
How is it for you both when you moved back to your country? You know, it's kind of frustrating to move back to my country because, like, first, I didn't want to move back to my country because, like, I want to stay there to learn and gain experience. But, like, the situation, like, you know, it's hard to live there because, like, you don't have, like, any experience and then you still, like, foreigner. It's really hard to working in Milan, and it's so much talented people and designer, like, working over there. And then when I have to come back here, so I need to, first of all, I have to learn to accept the truth. You know, like you have to value yourself that, okay, if you cannot work there, so you can just come back here and then working for your experience and gain more experience to go to somewhere that you really want to be. You know, I can move back to Italy like whenever I want, but right now I just like need to stay here working and do my best here first. And then if I do my best first, after that I can move wherever I want. So that is kind of I have learned from like several years, but it was tough. It was tough to move back. It was really tough. And if I had like, you know, right now, if I have an opportunity to move back to Europe, I might say no right now because, like, you know, I settled out something here and I feel like I safe here. But, you know, in the future, if I can like gain more and experience, like, you know, I can connect you because you're a Black designer. You mentioned in at the first, like, before, but because of I'm Asian designer too. So Asian, you know, like, it's not, people still like kind of think about Asian people as a refugee or kind of like, I don't know how to say, but
I understand.
it's I can relate to you too, and it's about all the taste, you know, like Asian designer love bright color, you know, cheerful, joyful, delightful, like everything so bright and take risk. But European market, they don't take risk, something like that. So I think for me, I have learned a lot from like move back to my country. Kind of.
Sorry to cut you off, Pete. Someone said that our hour is going to end soon. We can continue. We can, when this is over, we can do it again if anybody wants, because I see more questions in here. We can hang up and then do it.
Sure.
I mean, when this closes, we can continue if people want to do that. But how much time do we have left, Pete? Does it say?
Just 1 minute.
Oh, snaps.
1 minute. Yeah. Okay, we can come back.
We can do it again. For those who don't want to join again, we appreciate you. for your questions and
So
stuff.
bad. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. We're gonna come
But
back.
You can hop back in. We're gonna do it again. To answer your question, Corey, I see you have the question about Alicia, whether companies willing to pay. Yeah. So we're gonna do it again. Instagram needs to get this together and expand it from 1 hour. You know.
Because we have the topic that we have to talk about this sustainability or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna come back in. So come back to the party, guys. All right. So how do we do it? I don't know.
You just like hang up first.
Oh, I don't know how to hang up. Oh, yes, I do.
Thank you ขอบคุณมากนะคะพี่แจ่มเดี๋ยวแป๊บนึงอย่าหนูมาใหม่